The film begins in a public park where two Mormon missionaries, Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton, engage in a discussion about pornography. Sister Barnes presents herself as the more seasoned missionary, having successfully converted 7 individuals in the past month. In contrast, Sister Paxton appears more innocent, yet she remains unwaveringly devoted to her faith. She expresses sympathy for an actress featured in a pornographic film she viewed. It soon becomes clear that they are on a mission to visit individuals who have previously expressed interest in their church. Not long after, they arrive at a residence where Barnes secures their bicycles to a nearby fence. She places the key in her pocket, knocks on the door, and is soon welcomed by a retired Englishman, Mr. Reed. The sisters introduce themselves and explain their purpose, to discuss his interest in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Mr. Reed seems intrigued and invites them inside, noting the inclement weather. However, the missionaries clarify that a woman must be present for safety reasons before they can enter. The amiable Englishman reassures them that his wife is at home, busy preparing a blueberry pie. Upon their arrival, Mr. Reed kindly offers to take their wet coats and hang them up nearby. The sisters accept his offer, and he departs, mentioning that he will also check on the snacks. A few minutes later, he returns, informing them that his wife will soon be joining them with a pie. The three of them then settle in with their warm beverages and initiate a conversation. Before delving into topics of religion, Reed inquires about the sisters' backgrounds. Paxton reveals that she was raised in the church, while Barnes shares that her mother converted. Following her father's passing, they explored various churches, uncertain of which path to take. Reed empathizes with their journey of faith, acknowledging that it has been a personal challenge for him as well. He then turns to Sister Barnes and asks about the circumstances of her father's death. She appears slightly surprised by the question, but responds that he succumbed to Lou Gehrig's disease. Misunderstanding her response, Reed makes a lighthearted comment about blueberry disease. Realizing his error, he clarifies that he thought Barnes was making a joke related to pie. Paxton attempts to ease the tension by expressing her wish to return as a butterfly after death, allowing her to remain close to her loved ones and land on their fingertips as a sign. Reed, despite the uncomfortable atmosphere, redirects the discussion towards religion, initially showing deference to their beliefs. However, his demeanor quickly changes as he begins to explore contentious topics, such as the history of polygamy within Mormonism. Barnes clarifies that polygamy was once seen as a spiritual endeavor aimed at strengthening the Mormon community following periods of hardship and violence. She notes that it was eventually abolished as it was deemed unnecessary. Nevertheless, Reed persists in the conversation, seemingly oblivious to the discomfort of the two missionaries. He questions the validity of biblical revelations, arguing that if those who share these teachings are flawed and sinful, their messages may also be unreliable. Reed further probes how one can ascertain the truth of their religious doctrines. Paxton responds with calm assurance, stating that her faith is rooted in the feelings it evokes within her. As the dialogue continues, the missionaries begin to sense that Reed is more focused on asserting his opinions than genuinely engaging with theirs. Barnes then interjects, requesting to meet Reed's wife. Reed hesitates momentarily, but ultimately consents to speak with her and exits the room. Once alone in the living room, Barnes casually inspects the candle on the table, discovering that it is labeled as blueberry pie scented, indicating that there is no wife baking a pie. Barnes suddenly realizes that Reed has been misleading them all along. She shares this revelation with her friend, and they both agree that his motives are questionable. When Reed finally returns, he is empty-handed, lacking both the pie and his wife, and instead invites them into the kitchen. They decline his invitation, and Barnes fabricates a story about receiving a call from the church. Disheartened, Reed retreats inside, stating he will inform his wife that their guests are about to depart. Once he leaves, Barnes tells Paxton they need to exit immediately. The two women hurry toward the door without their coats, only to discover it is locked. Paxton tries to make a phone call, but finds there is no signal. Suddenly, they hear a sound from within the house, and moments later, the lights go out. This compels the women to venture further into the house, where they stumble upon a library. Reed soon enters the room and greets them again. The missionaries insist they must leave at once, to which Reed calmly responds that they should feel free to go. The women then retrieve their coats, which are nearby. Interestingly, the key to their bicycle lock is located in Paxton's pocket. Upon entering, Barnes had ensured it remained there. She then requests Reed to unlock the door, but he informs her that it is secured by a timer mechanism. He explains that the front door will not be accessible until the following morning. Reed suggests using the back door as an alternative, but they hesitate, sensing something amiss. They insist on exiting through the front, but Reed denies their request, stating it is not an option. Suddenly, his demeanor shifts to a more menacing tone as he accuses them of fabricating the church call. Barnes argues that it is not a valid excuse, but Reed counters that it is impossible. He discloses that the house's walls and ceilings are constructed of metal, which obstructs any signal. A distressed Barnes inquires if Reed has a phone, but he asserts that he does not. Frustrated, Barnes tries to exit through the back door, only to discover it leads to the basement. She attempts another door, but it also opens into the basement rather than an exit. Feeling cornered, Barnes insists that the state's president is aware of their presence. Paxton then concocts a story, claiming that the police witnessed their arrival at the house. They demand that Reed allow them to leave, cautioning him that he could face serious consequences. He disregards their worries and ultimately discloses his genuine motives. Reed asserts that while missionaries promote their beliefs to others, today he intends to market his own. In an effort to undermine their faith with reason, Reed proclaims that God does not exist. He then labels one door belief and the other disbelief. He challenges them to choose. If they maintain their religious faith after hearing his arguments, they should enter through the believer door. If they align with his perspective, they should opt for the disbeliever door. A frightened Paxton believes that agreeing with Reed might ensure their safety. She quickly concedes, commending the Englishman for his cleverness, and suggests they exit through the disbelief path. Conversely, Barnes remains resolute in her faith, despite her fear. She scrutinizes Reed's claims and successfully counters them, opting for the belief route. She inquires if Paxton still believes in God, to which Paxton affirms. Barnes then takes her friend's hand and guides her through the belief door. To their dismay, Reed locks it behind them as they descend into the basement. As the two women venture deeper, their anxiety escalates, realizing there is no escape. The atmosphere becomes increasingly unsettling when they suddenly hear footsteps approaching. While Reed is preoccupied with lecturing them in the library above, Barnes seizes a small knife. She hands it to Paxton and devises a strategy for their defense. She instructs him that upon hearing the code phrase magic underwear, he should use the knife against Reed. However, when the door swings open, a woman in a gray dress steps in, not Reed. She has a spectral appearance, emaciated, with prominent bones, and carries a lantern in one hand and a blueberry pie in the other. Both women are initially taken aback, uncertain whether she is a ghost or a living person. At that moment, a voice comes through a speaker on the wall as Reed announces that they are about to witness a miracle. He explains that the woman before them is a prophet and that the blueberry pie she holds is laced with poison. She will consume it, leading to her demise, but through divine intervention, she will be resurrected. As if on cue, the woman takes a bite of the pie and collapses lifelessly to the floor. Reed persists in his assertion that she will return to life, but his speech is cut short by the sound of the doorbell ringing. He leaves to answer it, providing Barnes and Paxton with a chance to take action. They rush to the cell door, calling out loudly to alert whoever is outside. Version 1, Reed has soundproofed the house, preventing their voices from reaching the outside. They then try to burn a cloth with a matchstick, hoping the smoke will create a signal. Meanwhile, a man from the church has arrived at the main door, asking about the two missionaries. Reed makes up a story, saying two young women did come to his gate, but returned almost immediately. It is revealed that he had already removed their bicycles to prevent any suspicions. His story convinces the church worker, who promptly leaves. Back in the basement, Barnes and Paxton continue with their plan until they succeed in creating smoke. Right at this moment, the dead prophet suddenly comes back to life, shocking both women. Reed also returns a few seconds later and takes the prophet away. He is ecstatic and asks the two missionaries to describe what they just experienced. Barnes, however, realizes that Reed is using psychological tactics to undermine their faith. She refuses to be deceived, stating that what happened wasn't a miracle but merely a trick. This is when she signals Paxton to act and says the code word magic underwear. But in a shocking twist of events, Reed acts first and slashes Barnes' throat. Paxton, filled with terror, rushes to the door, pounding and crying out for assistance, but her pleas go unanswered. Reed attempts to soothe her, promising that Barnes will return to life. However, upon Paxton's return to the basement, Reed discloses that Barnes will not be resurrected. He removes a metallic object from her arm, which Paxton identifies as a contraceptive device. The unsettling Englishman elaborates that the so-called resurrection was compromised, likening it to a simulation and referencing the film The Matrix. He asserts that Barnes led a double life, devoid of genuine belief or vision, merely functioning within a programmed framework. Reed then poses a challenge to Paxton, inquiring whether she has faith in miracles or if he is correct in his simulation theory. To her surprise, Paxton gradually begins to grasp Reed's manipulation. She asserts that the simulation was orchestrated and declares the alleged miracle to be a fabrication. She explains how Reed meticulously staged the entire event, including the resurrection. When the bell rang and they were momentarily distracted, Reed had replaced the prophet with a body double. She had observed subtle discrepancies in the woman's posture and facial features upon seeing her again. Paxton even speculates and shifts a table to uncover a concealed basement below. Reed concedes that if the body is discovered there, her hypothesis would hold true. However, the only way to verify it is for her to descend into the basement. Paxton, resolute in her quest for the truth and eager to escape, courageously consents to enter. Reed instructs her to proceed only if she seeks to uncover the one true religion, and without a moment's pause, Paxton steps inside. She descends into the basement, where she discovers the lifeless body of a woman. This discovery validates her suspicions, prompting her to declare triumphantly that she was right all along. However, a sullen Reed remains silent, simply securing the cellar door behind her. Undeterred, Paxton ventures deeper, compelled by her desire for the truth. At the far end of the room, she encounters a door locked with her bicycle lock. Using the key she has in her pocket, she unlocks it, unveiling a hidden cellar where Reed has imprisoned numerous women. At that moment, Reed appears behind her, inquiring if she has found her answer. It is then that Paxton comprehends the full extent of Reed's manipulation from the very beginning. She recalls how, upon their initial arrival at the house, Reed had pretended to converse with his wife, using it as a ruse to seize the key from Barnes's coat and relocate their bicycle. Initially, Paxton believed Reed had inadvertently placed the key in her pocket, but she now realizes it was a deliberate act. He anticipated that she would use the key to unlock this door, indicating that her presence here is not by her own volition, but rather a result of Reed's calculated manipulation to control her beliefs. Upon hearing this, the Englishman confirms that his one true religion is control. He admits that he enjoys controlling others, just like religious institutions. Paxton looks around and sees several captive women in cages. She feels sad for them, but Reed tells her that it was the women's choices that brought them here. As he continues to bully Paxton, she breaks down and starts crying. Then, all of a sudden, she brings out her knife and stabs him in the neck. Paxton attempts to escape, but the whole house is like a maze. Things get even worse for her when Reed catches up. He stabs her in the stomach, and both of them drop to the floor. As they both bleed out, Reed tells Paxton to pray for them. The missionary begins praying, despite all the evil things that Reed has done to her. She sticks to her faith, showing kindness and resilience even in this dire moment. But just as Reed is about to finish her off, a wooden block with nails hits his forehead, killing him instantly. Paxton looks up and sees Sister Barnes, who is barely standing on her last ounce of energy. She then collapses to the floor, but her act of heroism encourages Paxton to keep trying. After saying goodbye to her friend, she jumps out of the window from Reed's study. The movie comes to an end as she finally makes it outside. She sits nearby to catch her breath, and soon a butterfly lands on her hand, indicating that it is her friend, Barnes. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, leave a comment about your favorite movie, and we will make it next. Thanks for watching.